Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mock my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I was about to say you probably should have saved that for about 10-20 seconds from now. But I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Twitter. You can find me at Roddykat on Blue Sky. I keep forgetting to do that. But you can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And with that sound effect being back, you know that heralds the return of the man, the myth, the legend, after his personal mission, his secret mission away. Agent _70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and Blue Sky.
Yes, and Blue Sky. What's up, everybody? I'm back.
Straight up Brooklyn in the house, representing BK to the fullest.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
What's up, y'all?
Happy to have you back, sir.
It's good to be back. It is good to be back.
So yeah, folks, we got my man back in the spots, but we still gonna, well, hopefully we're not gonna have a show like last week. And not to say it wasn't a good show, but that even for me that one went a little long.
That's funny.
But it was good stuff. Me and Von Gloom was talking and having some good conversation. It was cool. I mean, he wasn't on the show, he was in the chat, but still.
Cool.
But folks, you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that will help people find our show.
I don't know, 8-7, it might be coming in and still a little bit hot, but we're going to have that fixed by next.
Of course, we're testing out, new equipment. We're testing out some new settings. It's, it's been a while since I've been behind the mic, so I might be a little bit hot yelling into the mic, or, just speaking a little too closely to it. So we'll try to fix that.
Yeah. You got a Yeti mic, so your game might be up. If so that might be also a thing. I'm not sure. But either way, we'll work with it. Y'all are glad to hear him back anyway. So we're going we're gonna work with it one way or the other.
Right.
And with that, folks, we're gonna dive right into the show by starting off with talk of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I guess I don't know if we can say season 2. We're just gonna say episode 5. Yes, episode 5. And I had to think up why that was the whole reason for have to think.
Oh, you mean your app was open so you could get the title?
Yeah, I was like, I had it up for a reason. I knew I forgot something. You have a lot to learn about pirates is the name of the episode. And
right.
Apparently that is the case.
Definitely, because what's interesting about this entire thing is they are playing with expectations and with what I guess the general ongoing mystery of the story is, like who Jod is and how these kids, find themselves on At Aten and what At-Atin is. Those are basically what the ongoing mysteries are. And I've missed out on a lot of the conversation going into this. I will say, though, that there's a couple of things that I find unfortunate about this show overall. And there's a couple of things that are like really cool and really endearing about this show. Like, I really get a kick out of Neil, like the little elephant kid.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's very frustrating that Wim is like the annoying one. It's very frustrating that the Asian one is wearing goggles, visor. Like, why they gotta handicap the one Asian one? What, and why is the little white girl the captain?
She's a robot,
So, but I get it. Small steps.
But yeah, Wim definitely has been a source of, and not just me, but other people. I was like, yes, Wim's a problem. Obviously, he's the one who got him in the situation in the first place. But at least I think I said this last week. He needed that. Okay, this is some serious shit moment. I can't be like I have been. I think he did start to get to that point in this episode, but at the same time, they gave him a little bit of comedy that once again proved that he should have gotten some shit happen more to him than has been happening
sooner. Right? Yes. Maybe sooner. But like you said, he may very well be really in the midst of his journey in kind of growing up. Like, he's really in the midst of that journey. KB, the Asian girl with the visor, she's still kind of, she hasn't gotten there yet. She hasn't had her kind of like highlight episode,
right? Although she's been kind of clutch in the few of them, but yeah, I know but you're definitely right. She hasn't had her solo moment like some of the other ones have.
Right. Like Neil obviously had like the best episode so far, I think. Where he gets his swerve on with this girl, and with the rebel girl, and he's inviting her to his house.
All right, smooth ass Neil, get you, boy. I mean, granted, it's all innocent, but still, like, yeah, all right, player, get yours.
My house is big enough for you too.
All right.
Gotta love it. Anyway, about this episode, I'm sorry to go on a tangent.
No, you're
but
good.
I needed to kind of get everyone up to date on my ideas on my thoughts on this. But in terms of this episode, we're getting more insight into what the history of this ship and its crew and was it SM-33?
Yes.
Of the main droid in the show. We get an idea of what their history is and their history of piracy, and how in the wake of the Battle of Yavin, right?
Despite,
piracy. What's that?
Right. Despite what they know about the rest of the galaxy,
exactly. There's still, the piracy obviously is a big thing, and it makes me laugh when I think to myself that this is a lot of fanfic run amok. It's role playing and fanfic run amok.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, Star Wars is not just Jedis and Sith. There's a way big world that you could play around with, and I'm kind of glad that they are. Because, like, hell, even what we saw with Andor, it was like, okay, here's a side you don't get to see. All you see is the Jedi and Sith and that whole shebang. But no, it's like, here's actual people getting some actual shit.
Right. And it's a treat when you get to see a lightsaber, because you do, spoiler alert, get to see a lightsaber in this episode.
So the fact that this is a more Goonies-esque, Lost in Space / whatever, even down to a pirate name that shows up in the course of this in the course of this episode, that's just a clear nod, a slightly weak but clear nod to the inspirational the inspirational source of this show. But yeah, it was like it's still been fun so far. Whether we don't know the stakes are what the stakes are going to be at the end of this, outside of like, man, this is probably this is a good Goonies-esque adventure going on. I'm sure our kid characters will learn something from this, hopefully. Maybe
Right.
there'll be a chunk. Maybe Smee, because I mean, yeah, well, it's Smee, SM33, but that's the thing they were drawing off of anyway. Is the chunk of the situation,
Mhm.
But actually, there's another theory, real quick, that's been coming up. Theory about SM33, about who he actually is outside of this droid. That and having to do with overall, pirate history / this famed pirate thing that was brought up this episode. So, but I don't know if I could put anything on that theory, but it seems compelling.
Mhm.
That being the case, yeah, here we are. We're still here. Like I said, we got 3 more episodes left in the series, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, yes, confirmed. 3 more episodes.
All right.
So,
All right. Well, we'll see.
how it
Will
goes.
we get the KB kind of spotlight episode, and we're also obviously going to follow up on the some of the revelations at the end of this episode that, like I said, I hesitate to spoil too much because I think it's worth it to make it through to the end of the episode. But we do get to see a little bit of a lightsaber, so we'll see where that goes in the next episode.
And a particular, from the looks of it, a particular vintage of lightsaber from the looks of it, but we may or may not find out more about that. Oh, and we do actually get a little bit more with the parents at the beginning of the show, as they try to do some things on their end to try to reach out to the kids or find the kids, one of the two. So there is still the whole thing, and going on at Adden about the mystery surrounding that place, even though some of that has been answered this episode. But we still don't. There's a couple of things that still are missing out of that. So we'll
right.
probably
There's
get a
some
little more.
severance. I was gonna say there's some severance stuff going on with their parents and
Yes.
and their jobs and what they do on at Atten.
Right.
It's like, oh, they're analysts. They crunch numbers.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we do get to find out a little bit more about the purpose of the planet. Also, like I said, watch the episode to find out
Mhm.
about that as well. Like I said, some things came out, and it's the 5th episode. It needed to happen, so a lot of information kind of came out, and I'm sure we'll get a little bit more. And we got a little bit more about, well, technically we would get little bits on Jad Na, which is what I've been calling him.
Oh my god.
Because that's not too far from his actual name, or one of his many names, I should say, as we have been finding
Exactly.
out. So will we find out the actual truth about him, and his past that people have been speculating on? Who's to say? I'm sure we'll find out something by the end of this, but I know there are people who's like, well, hopefully he's not a Jedi. He was, or either he was a Padawan who, he did an Ahsoka and left
Right.
early on, or
Or he might have done not just an Ahsoka. He might have done whatchamacallit. Who was her nemesis?
Barriss Offee.
Yeah, he might have done a Barriss Offee.
Possible. Yeah, that is also a theory. Could be another Sith Afterlife. We don't know. Like I said,
Yeah.
or whatever that character. Like I said, from the Acolyte or was it the Acolyte, or no, it was Obi-Wan that Camille and Johnny played. Was basically not an actual Jedi who just had magnets on him. Like people that there was theories been going around all over the place. So we'll find out at some point which one is right.
Right.
For whatever it is. That being said, we're going to move on to, now this is going to be a weird one to try to do, because this is still an ongoing thing. We're not going to go through every episode fully, but What If season 3 is going on right now, and they are doing the thing like they did with season 2, where starting from December 22nd, there's been an episode every night up until 8 days later, because that's how many episodes that there are. And we are, as of this recording, up to 5. The 6th should be coming out sometime tonight, I believe. So, or tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, I guess technically. It's depending on how you slide it. So
Right.
we're 5
Right.
episodes in now.
I mean, what's kind of fun is that you can, like much like we were doing during the height of the pandemic, we got to watch stuff over breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
That part is kind of fun. There have been a couple of highlights for me when it came to What If. Have you talked about the first episode?
No, because they started coming out after last show.
Ah, I see. So like the mecha one was good.
Mm-hmm.
What I get a kick out of is that Shang-Chi is getting some shine in this, and so are the Eternals. Right. That's what I can say. Like in the broadest sense of the word, you can actually get to see some of these characters get a little bit of exposure. Like, oh, that's what they called it. It's the emergence. I forgot.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm. Like I get that Howard the Duck is a big part of the whole animation of of Marvel animation, but his episode with Darcy and with the bad guys of like certain phases of the MCU was actually pretty fun. Because we get to see them again. It's like, oh, that's great. Look at that.
Right. Although the thing about that particular episode that stuck with me is like, so how exactly did she that she? Okay, you know what? Let me like the whole episode.
I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that go.
Like, okay, she pushed that out. Okay, you know what?
Listen, the human body is a wonder. Right? Especially the female human, the female human body is a wonder.
Absolutely right, but still.
I get it. Oh, and whatchamacallit, and God, why am I blanking on his name? The actor that plays the Red Guardian. That dude is hysterical.
David Harbour, yes. Yeah,
David Harbour. They're giving him so much. They're having so much fun writing that character.
Which makes sense because Thunderbolts is coming up, so yeah, him and Bucky had a couple episodes separately.
Yep.
So it's interesting. So you're saying the highlight? Yeah, that I did love that Mech Avengers one, that first one, because you could clearly see that their inspiration was was a little bit of Power Rangers. Super Sentai type stuff.
Right, and certainly some Godzilla.
Yes, exactly. At the end of that, so and that part, luckily we didn't see because luckily it did not spoil that part.
Right.
So there was a very clear Godzilla reference going on there.
And whatchamacallit, the David Harbour, like that whole episode was just fun.
With the one with him and Bucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun watching that one.
Mm-hmm. So with as with the first 2 seasons, even though they start off with seemingly disjointed episodes, they end up coming into a story that plays out near the end or at the end, and this one is no exception, because especially with the last episode being episode 5. We are definitely starting to see, like, even with that first one, you can see some stuff that might end up coming back into play. But this last episode is definitely going to be one that they're going to, keep going on to until the end of the season, which is only 3 more episodes. So, and I kind of enjoyed that one because it was a Riri Williams episode. Again, you can cut and you can kind of tell, like, yeah, with these people that they're focusing on either had or will be having something coming up fairly shortly or fairly soon in the MCU. So it kind of makes sense for them to focus on these newer Jokers as opposed to stuff that's already happened.
Right. So, did you watch the most recent one, the Shang-Chi one?
Is that the one that just came out? Oh no,
Today, earlier today.
No, I did not. That's the one.
I'm going to give you a minor spoiler, and it's nothing big.
Okay.
But someone makes an Iron Fist reference.
Oh, okay.
They just say it, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I had to check that out later on because actually, I had gotten into some stuff and I didn't get a chance to watch it. Actually, we got some Iron Fist news coming up later on in the video. So, and as always with
What If, and I know I've harped on this before, it's always interesting to see which actors they are able to bring back to voice characters. It makes sense that the new crop, the new group of heroes, is more willing to do the voices because their heroes are still fresh and upcoming.
Right.
Obviously, we're talking about David Harbour, we're talking about Anthony Mackie, we're talking about
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan, because they're going to get more love. Like Haley Steinfeld is in the Shang-Chi episode. Right. As I mentioned, we're getting Shang a couple times, so we're getting Simu Liu to do his voice also.
Oh shoot, there's a soundbite I gotta get from the Darcy Howard the Duck one. I just remember I didn't just remember, but I forgot to get it. Fury out.
Oh my God, what was that?
That took me out the couple of times he did that.
What was that all about?
Oh man, that was so funny. That was stupid. I was like, all right, you know what? And they got Samuel Jackson back for a spoiler alert. So
they got Sam Jackson back, and they also got Clark Gregg back to do Coulson.
Son of Cole.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, the son of Cole came back to do that. And it was, like I said, like I think I saw an article that said that Kat Dennings will always come back to do Darcy. Anything Darcy she'll come back to do. I'm like, good for her.
I think she did say something. Saw something about that recently. Yeah, that she was like, yeah, if they want me back, hell yeah. So that was one of the ones that kind of surprised me. I was like, okay, I kind of figured it was her, but there was some vocal work that just didn't sound like them, but actually was them in a couple of the shows. And that was kind of one. I was like, okay, no, that's sound like it's her, but at the same time, it's possible maybe they didn't. But no, turns out it wasn't. And there was a couple of them I was right about. It was like, no, they clearly didn't come back for this character or that character.
Oh yeah.
So
definitely.
Which is kind of
like they did not get whatchamacallit. God, now like I can't believe. Well, actually, I don't blame myself for not remembering her name. She played Okoye.
Oh, Denai Guerrera. Yeah,
Denai Guerrera. Like there's no way they're gonna get her back for this.
Right.
For like a little bit part.
Right. I mean, I don't know. There's I guess if they were still going to do that, that rumored Black Panther thing with the Dora, maybe, but I don't, or if they actually do get the next Black Panther movie down at some point,
she'll be back for that.
Right. Like if they were doing that like sooner, they would probably get her back for that. Also, I think Lupita Nyong'o, her character Nakia, she didn't come back for that either, for this either. So, but yeah, like I said, there was a couple of them that was like, yeah, okay, it was not a surprise that character didn't come out. But so they got some fairly decent sound-alikes, but also kind of noticeable. Hiddleston came back, so I guess that one was kind of surprised, but not really.
Say again?
Let's say Hiddleston came back.
Oh, that's right.
So,
that's right.
So,
but the thing is, he's been involved with Marvel TV obviously since Jump.
Yeah. But I mean, it was kind of up in the air after Loki whether he would come back or not. But at the same time, I think with What If still kind of going on at the time, like, no, he was like, yeah, no, still do it here and there. So right. No, of course. So yeah, but yeah, some good stuff. Oh, and I know By the way, Benji Games 2 says that Marvel money is good. I'd come back too. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. Depending on what no, I stand on that. No, yeah. I would come back too. like what? I'm playing a Marvel character, hopefully a fairly significant one, or at the very least one I'd like. And they want me back. Hell yeah, I'm coming back for that money. Or just coming back. One of the two. So which, by the way, they and I guess this is a slight spoiler, but I think this is in the trailer. And I think shout out to our dude Vine Gloom, who mentioned this on Twitter probably like a day or two ago. But MC version of Bill Foster is around. So and showed up in an episode played by Fishburne.
Right.
Fishburne? So yeah. That was an interesting part of that. Because we definitely ain't gonna see that in live action. We're absolutely not gonna see any of that in live action. So, but yeah, what if it's still good? Like I said, it's leading up to the thing it normally does, and in comic leaning fashion, it is definitely playing on something that has come up in the comics, used to come up in the comics, in relation to the Watcher a few different times. So
more than a few different times.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I want to say it might have actually happened somewhat recently also. Within the last 3 or 4 years in the comics. So therein lies that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all of that plays out in this last season of this thing. Good stuff. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to get on to the episode tonight, and the one that comes out tomorrow, or whatever the case may be. So that being said, we are going to go into the books of the week.
All righty.
And we're going to start off with the, I would say it's not, technically it is new #1, but technically it is not because it's been an annual thing. But now Brandon's under a new name, and that is Timeslide, aka Timeless, #1, 2024. 2025.
All right. Timeslide #1 is written by Steve Fox with art by Ivan Fiorelli, colors by Frank D'Armata, and letters by our favorite lettering python, the hardest working letterer over at VC's Joe Caramagna. And this book features 2 X-Men who have not always gotten along in the past. Those X-Men being Bishop and Cable. And there is a contrived story here where they're looking to these are the 2 X-Men who are intimately familiar with time travel, and they're on the they're on the case of the Children of the Vault. Remember those jokers. And there's like I said, a contrived storyline in which they're going through the past, and in doing so, they also look at glimpses of the future. And that's the conceit here, is that we're getting a peek into the next year and change of Marvel stories. So if you're into that whole timeless tradition over the last several years, this is a fun little peek into the future of Marvel without having to wait for solicitations.
Right. And once again, we are now in the state of asking ourselves, okay, so how much of this are we actually going to see in the next 12, 13 months? Probably is good. Right. Usually it's like 12 to 16 months for these things. But as we found out from the last one, I think there's still some stuff from Jed McKay's that still have not worked itself out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is probably going to be still some of that. And we were talking about the list of things that was spelled out in the course of this issue. And there's a lot, folks. Like stuff we know about and the stuff that's going on right now to stuff that hasn't happened yet, but probably is going to be leading from some of the stuff that is coming out or about to.
If I'm not mistaken, I feel like this is the very first time they've actually published an actual list in story to show us all of the names as opposed to just showing us, like these hints of characters who will be featured prominently in the next year and change of Marvel storytelling. So it's very interesting to see, the way they presented the titles of the stories. And obviously, if you are up on your solicitations, at least through the first 3 months of the year what might be coming up, because that's as far out as solicitations go. If you are checking your pull list to look into solicitations to add books to your pull, that's what you're doing now. Like, I know for certain that I have taken a look at solicitations and going into February, maybe March, to add to look into putting books on my pull list. But some of these titles of story arcs will look familiar to you.
Actually, May is May. Oh, sorry, wrong year. I think May just came out last week. May solicitation.
Okay, so we're right, because it's already just we're basically almost in January. So yeah.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, no. Hold on a second. No,
I thought it was April.
No. It's March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at something else. I was looking at the wrong year. So yeah. March solicitations for, and actually I need to see what the other ones came out because I didn't put them in there. But yeah, because Marvel and DC came out last week, like right after I recorded, or right around the time I recorded, and I was gonna catch some of the other ones. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, he's right. My fault. But that's still being the case. So here's the thing. I said when the last time Bishop and Cable did their buddy cop thing, which was near the end of the Cohen era, and the thing that they're fighting in this particular issue, the conceit kind of came from, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I still would love to see them in a book together as a buddy cop thing. I feel like this could be continuing to set up something like that potentially happening, but I do know at least one of them are going to is getting their own books that we already know about.
Right.
So who's to say if they're going to do us a Spectacular Spider-Man type buddy book or something? Because yeah, after that last time whether they were as they even said in this issue, like after they dealt with what they dealt with the children the first time, like yeah, they kind of some things got wrought back from that, which is why they ended up doing what they were doing in this issue. But still potentially could come back up some kind of way in some of this stuff that we'll end up finding. And if you're watching, actually, I'm gonna pull this up really quick. If you're watching the video version of the show, there we go. This is the list that Agent 70 was speaking about. As you can see, like I said, at the top of it is stuff that's going on right now and or closely coming very soon. And then it just starts to get into stuff that we had some curiosity about that we were talking about before the show. There's definitely a couple of doom stuff. There's one we'll talk about later in the news. And a couple of Spider-Man stuff, of course. And there's one right at the bottom that may or may not be something that is coming from something that's going on in current X books. Where it seems like it might be coming from. I don't know that for certain, but we'll find that out. Mm-hmm. Overall, it is what it is with this one, because like I said, it's just that yearly, hey, here's what's the stuff that's coming or going on right now, so catch it. The one or two things that was of curiosity to me was like there was one that might suggest that, as I mentioned to Asia, or as we talked before the show, Strange Academy could be coming back. Sounds like, and I don't know if Agent 7 you saw the preview images after the book ended. There was one that had a villain that I don't think we've seen since, well, we probably hadn't seen in a while, and I think that's an old Cap villain, Mad Cap. who's
Oh yeah,
who's gonna be showing up in the Avengers apparently with some
right,
folks.
right.
So, and I saw that, I was like, oh Lord, the hell, what's going on with that? Why is this happening? Why are we
Right,
bringing them
right,
back up?
Right. I could not remember the character's name, but I did. Once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's who that is.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird that I even remembered the name. Like, it was like, why isn't the because like it was because I think Madcap. Well, no, Madcap is 80s, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, Madcap is like an 80s Cap villain, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, it was kind of weird that the name came up. So it was like, all right, well, we know something's coming up fairly soon. Oh yeah, Captain America 307, first appearance, July 1985. Wow, the brain still works every now and then, folks. Ding.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Next up, though, because we're gonna get away from that. Like I said, Timeslide is out there. You can check it out for yourselves. And actually, speaking of the X Corner, X-Men #9 is our next book.
X-Men #9 is written by Jed MacKay, with pencils by Federico Vicentini and Ryan Stegman. Inks are by Federico Vicentini and J.P. Mayer. Colors are by Marte Gracia and Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So I needed to do a lot of catch up to read this issue because I had fallen behind on what was happening in Adjectiveless and Uncanny. And I finally found out what was going on. And you know what? It's actually pretty cool to see that these X-Men are on two different paths because they are on two different wavelengths when it comes to working together and working to deal with the fallout of the fall of Krakoa, right? Seeing them kind of interact with each other and express in very, very stark terms what their difference in philosophy is really let us see what the difference in between these two teams actually is. And I guess it took its time to develop, over 8 and 9 issues, 7, 8 or 9 issues between the two, as they finally crossed over to actually see what's different about them. And this issue, we finally get a little bit of comeuppance over at Graymalkin, because what we find out is that everyone's on a collision course because some members of each team have been abducted by the people who were running the Graymalkin prison now, and some hijinks ensue. There's the inevitable team up, but also the inevitable battle between the two teams. And at the end of this issue, there is a cliffhanger because someone they did not expect to be, they expected to be behind one door, was not behind that one door, but was actually behind another door. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, that one I was like, okay, I feel like there was a certain part of reading this that was like, okay, it is clear that that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had kind of been playing with that, over the course of the run, where it was like, hey, we got so and so behind this door. I was like, something didn't seem right with that. So, and we found out what is the case. Although there might be still another swerve to this, especially if you check out the preview image in the back of this book, that is suggesting another thing that might also be a holdover from the Krakoan era. We don't know that for certain, so I won't say too much about that. But yeah, I love the fact that how you could just see where things screeched to a halt, where like, okay, Scott and Rogue were kind of coming to terms with things, and all right, they seem to be on the same page, and then skirt, oh, here's this thing happened. And just threw that out of whack, and then just was like, okay, we'll get back to that, but and now this person shows up, and And I do feel like the person on the cover of the book is going to be very upset, regardless of whether it is actually that person or someone in that person's guise controlling them. They're going to be very, very pissed when that let's hold. But we don't know that yet. Yeah, X-Men #9 was a good book though. Like I said, the whole coming together of the two teams. You know, I do love that one thing Jet McKay wrote was like, they're not just mutants, they're X-Men. That was a pretty decent line. You know.
Yep.
I was like, cool. There might be a budding romance between a couple of the a couple of members of the team, but or at least that could be me putting that.
Yeah, exactly, across the two teams. I have to say, I'm actually enjoying the spotlight that's being shown on Jubilee.
Yes,
I'm like, good for her. It's about time.
Right,
like we don't need to make her a vampire. Just let Jubilee be Jubilee. You know, let her cook a little bit.
Right, and not only that, but it was like, okay, Jubilee, who has been in a similar situation a half a dozen times at this point. That's a little bit of hyperbole, but still, like, she was one of the ones that was taken, but at least they gave her a little bit more agency this time than they have in the past. Because usually it's like, oh, let's just her in this situation, and then they come to get her. But she actually ended up, she done learned some stuff.
Right.
And that was great to see coming out of like last issue, and even, the whole thing with the Beast, getting a little come up was great in that last issue. But coming back to this one. Yeah, like I said, we still have, I can't remember how many issues of this whole crossover. I think this is what, 3? Is it 3?
I believe it was one more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I think it is 4 parts. So yeah, so when we get back to Uncanny next, then we'll probably polish this off, and then that'll probably lead into one of the things the thing I'm suspecting from Timeslide. I'm almost at Timeless again. That is going to be a thing between the teams for probably a little while, but we shall see. If you're watching the video version, you can see the Marvel vs. Capcom cover with Psylocke. That is not Quanon. That is Betsy Braddock, but this is a different time, folks. But nevertheless, it's still the character. And it's a good cover. So there you go. There'll be a couple more those covers showing up here during the course of the night. Next up, though, speaking of the X Corner, we go to Exceptional X-Men #4.
Exceptional X-Men #4 is written by Eve L. Ewing with art by Carmen Carnero, colors by Nolan Woodard, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. This book is a little offbeat, because it is, I guess, in the spirit of Generation X, in the spirit of Professor X is, sucks, and Kitty's looking to, go her own way, but still do things the way she would like to have had them done with her when she was younger. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting here. Is that she is teaching not just to, she's trying to be the teacher she always wanted and needed, right? And Emma is Emma Frost, right? Like I said, she's the counter. She's her character, whereas Kitty's kind of like the Banshee of Generation X.
Oof.
Right, if you go back to that, you know what I mean. Like if you go back to the dynamic between the two teachers, and we're getting a lot of the kids here. We're getting a lot of we get the introduction of their code names, I think, in this issue, and then when we get one of the characters appearing in Timeslide, we get a little bit of reinforcement of that code name. Yeah, I like Banshee. I don't want to, I don't want to imply something here when it comes to what's going to happen to Kitty.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't think Kitty's going to befall any of the same fate that Banshee ever has.
Right.
Sorry about that. But I think I want to say the codename thing started last.
Oh,
They
okay.
definitely are reinforcing them. If I'm not mistaken. But also, we have an appearance by one Bobby Drake, Iceman, who apparently had his own mission for coming there. He was checking on his friend, but also he was checking up on his friend.
Right.
For whom I don't recall we get that piece of information. But I assume we're going to find out who that is next issue or somewhere down the line. But at the end of it,
Wait, say again.
I said I assume we're going to find out who Bobby was talking to.
Oh, we do find out that in those extra pages that they code. We do find out.
Oh, okay. I didn't read those, so okay. Okay, well then, never mind then. So
we do find out. Well, although what it is that it makes a lot of sense that there's definitely a sense of without analyzing or over analyzing or even theorizing here, there's definitely a little bit of PTSD post Orcus, when it comes to Kitty, and how and what she did and kind of like that character transformation that she underwent at the end of the fall of Krakoa. And so, this is like it's not the polar opposite, but she's dealing with that and how she is coping with that. In addition to taking on this new life and this new way of teaching.
Right. Indeed. And speaking of course post Orcus PTSD, West Coast Avengers #2.
Oh my God.
Pretty good segue right there, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because West Coast Avengers #2, which is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Danny Kim, colors by Arthur Hesley, and letters by our favorite lettering python, the hardest working letterer at Virtual Calligraphy, VC's Joe Caramagna. So, like I said, speaking of PTSD and, what happened to some characters in the wake of the fall of Krakoa, there's some characters who underwent pretty traumatic things in the midst of trying to take down Orcus. One was Shadowcat, aka Kitty, aka Kate, now just plain old Kitty Pryde. Another one was Angelica Jones, aka Firestar. And they call her in, because she is a former X-Men, former Avenger, or just a card-carrying Avenger and a card-carrying X-Men. And they call her into the West Coast team, and things are not what they seem right away. Obviously, her story is taking a little bit of a backseat to what this team is undergoing as it's going through some growing pains, as it were. Right, and they run up against a particular bad guy I'm not a fan of, but I love the fact that they use his nickname Stevel.
Yes.
He's like, no, my name is Grant. I'm like, no, you are Stevel, and you're gonna stick with that stupid name,
Right.
And I like the fact that the Silver Centurion armor is what Tony's running around in this, as opposed to the Iron Man, the what he's wearing in Iron Man right now.
Right. Which I suspect is probably going to catch up at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, hey, I'm not. One, West Coast Avengers originally, you had not originally, it was Mark II, but regardless, when Tony came back to the group, it was Silver Centurion. That's beside the point. So it's always, but the point is, always glad to see the Silver Centurion, because I believe that is still my favorite armor of his. It is just weird to see it in this year 2024,
right?
As opposed to what 1980s, whatever it was. you know, when that armor was out big. So, but yeah,
Right.
as it just said, the team is going through some growing pains. Angelica. So I'm partially not a fan of what they're doing with her, but it also makes sense. So I can get over myself, you know, with that because yes, if you remember her part in the Krakoan era, you know, she was basically branded a trailer. She was undercover with orcas, working with Nimrod, which brings us to why she has PTSD in this issue.
Right.
With another giant, potentially currently not evil.
Yeah, a giant murder robot.
Yes. That the Avengers has had to go up against time and time and time again. Now working with them for a reason that we still don't actually know the full story of yet, but I suspect is hopefully coming at some point soon. Because I guess they're making it like it's kind of a big thing within the story.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this team. You know, we gotta and they do mention in this particular in this issue about that whole thing that Tony and Rhodey's kind of doing with the whole program with superpowered
the work
feminine.
release, right? Like a prisoner work release program,
right? The Force Works the Force Works release program that they're doing. I'm gonna continue to call it that. This is
that's the way it is. I mean, if they are not going to call it that, that's what it is. Right. You know.
So there's that dude who, as I said when the first issue came out, he's kind of going toe to toe with Quentin Quire in the annoying factor.
Yeah.
So, and we find out in this issue that he indeed has issue with he has history with Steve-O.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. So, you know, this supposedly wholly new character, which I guess is not wholly new, but then again, there's a lot about that whole Hydrocap thing that I don't remember. So, and we also found out he was a fan of Infamous Iron Man, but that's a side point and not surprising. But you know, as the team is going doing their thing, and with the folks there, we get a little bit of this, and you know, Angelica gets on the team, and like Agent 7 said, is some things aren't what they tend to be, but they don't know that, and you know, she's trying to deal with things, but doesn't deal with stuff well. But honestly, how would you react if if you already have PTSD and Ultron comes rolling up on you? Hell, somebody who didn't even know what's going on in the course of the story saw Ultron and was like, "Oh no, it's Ultron, I'm out." So it makes sense. You don't know.
Absolutely.
But also the one last thing before I hand it over, they need to give Mockingbird some adamantium batons. That is all. Because apparently, did he always have those? Or, and I mean, he didn't always have those because they say where he got those from. But did he always have batons?
No, I want to say they probably debuted here, because what he was talking about is reforging some leftover skeletons, which has been like an ongoing story. Mm-hmm. That Wolverine left around, like in the age of Krakoan resurrection.
Right. Which, yeah, and that has come up a couple of different times already, but it's like, yeah, but okay. I mean, what was he going to do? It was like, I don't even remember the dude of resurrection. He's not like he remembers everything about the mission or where he died at, as far as we know. So I was like, okay, just go back and pick up the bones. Where are they? I don't know.
Yeah. What I was going to say is I don't think that was a priority.
Right.
For them. That was just like it's a loophole in the story that like someone would have gotten a no prize for if they didn't just use that as a story, like a story, like a story mechanism to like kind of keep more trying to put more adamantium in play.
Right.
It's like, oh, by the way, there's a bunch of these Wolverine corpses around, like skeletons around. Let's do something with the adamantium in them.
Sure. As opposed to what they're doing with Wolverine now and the story that he's on currently going on. So yeah, I don't know. Weird. There's a couple of good nicknames in this issue, and then we'll leave it at that. Living Taser was one of them. Steve-O definitely is one of them. The copter to Sylvania, right at the top. I was like, all right, Duggan. That was pretty good, I guess. So yeah, but at the end we find out that I guess we probably figured it out because the way the first issue ended, you could think that, okay, well, maybe things are not what they seem with one member of the group, and turn to find out that, well, given the nature of this person, of course, there's multiple versions of them. And that is what we're finding out at the end of this issue. As they say, I don't know this person. Like, this is not hyperbole. I don't know this person. That's kind of funny. But yeah, Wacko still continues. So far, West Coast Avengers continues to still be a good book. How long it's going to last in this day and age? Don't know.
Right. There's one thing I wanted to mention right at the end when Angelica makes her appearance in the Avengers West Coast compound, and Tony seems to pick up on something.
Yes.
Right? And that may very well be a storyline here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You know?
Like
he just seems to pick up on something, whether if it's a smell or if it's a particular like nervous action, but he would be, let's just say he is intimately familiar with this particular issue with with regards to himself, and he has been the character that has addressed this issue with other characters, namely Carol Danvers, and Angelica Jones would just be the latest.
Yep. And actually, which brings us nicely into, because there's a question. I mean, there's something I'll ask you about in a minute with that, as we go into the next book, which is Iron Man #3.
Oh, Iron Man #3 is written by Spencer Ackerman with art by Julius Ota and Jethro Morales. Colors are by Alex Sinclair, and letters by our favorite lettering python, the hardest working letterer over at Marvel, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this has been an interesting little ride over the first 3 issues, right? I had to actually catch up on this. Admittedly, it was interesting to see Force come back and not be, the guy behind the armor. But the art on this is, I want to say, interesting, because they're giving Tony the long hair, long beard, the whole thing, but everyone else looks like normal. Everyone else looks normal, right? Even Dr. Druid looks normal. He's got the stupid hair that he's always had, but Tony's got a new look, right?
Yeah.
And the twist in this issue is that Tony's probably the only sane, like the only person seeing the offer, this corporate takeover offer, for what it is. Right. And I'm like, wow, if this is really allegorical for when it comes to like dealing with like corporate takeovers in the real world, like mergers and acquisitions in the real world, would they really sell their souls for a couple of bucks? They might. They might. It was a very kind of interesting way of looking at this particular these boardroom tactics, as a deal with the devil, as it were.
Definitely felt real, for sure.
Yeah.
I will say this is a potential Kliq of the week for me, surprisingly enough. We do see Tony and we see his new accoutrement for the new Marvel figure that we're definitely going to get go into action here at the start of this. while the board members go through, or talk about said merger. And I do love the way that things are handled with Tony and that whole merger thing. Because he doesn't handle it like you would expect he would, but also you forget, hey, Tony is a businessman.
Right.
So you gotta keep that in the back of your mind. So we find out, a couple of things. There's in this whole Roxxon AIM merger thing, they had a silent backer, and we find out who that is. Well, we find out who's representing them. Excuse me, I can't remember.
Right.
We don't find out who exactly the person or people are, but we definitely do find out who's representing them. And I hadn't seen this being in quite a minute, so that was kind of funny in itself. And again, like I just said, Dr. Druid's here and all this shittiness. But I was going to ask, did you obviously you read last issue, where Druid pops in? So because I think whenever we talked about it, I was like, okay, he shows up and it's like, wait, that looks like Dr. Druid. Oh wait, it is Dr. Druid.
Right.
So I was
Right.
like, okay, that's crazy. And also had, like I said, it was a call thing from the first issue, because it was like in the first issue it was like, well, yeah, we're working with somebody you should be familiar with. I'm like, it had to be him. It was. But the thing about the last issue I wanted to bring up was the spread that from when Druid was fucking with Tony, going back to what we just talked about with the West Coast Avengers. I don't know if you remember how much of the last book you remember, but brought up.
I just opened it up. What about it?
Basically brought up that thing we were talking about with that Tony would notice with the event that Tony would notice with Angelica.
Right.
And that was a pretty good spread page right there, which is why I brought it up. So it's like it almost felt like they just took that out from the original run and put it in there, but I don't think that was the case. So
no, but so like that panel, that cover has been reinterpreted a number of times.
True.
I got a kick out of the sword being in action.
Mm-hmm.
It's they actually make some story reference, like, oh, Iron Man's a fan of such and such or something like that.
Right.
And what was I gonna say? I'm disappointed that they threw. Hopefully they find a way to bring back Melinda May as as a useful character, that she wasn't just like a throwaway character for this first arc.
Right. I agree with that.
Although
it was kind of funny, it was like, you chose now to do something
right.
After everything that's been going on here. I'm like, okay, sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I do hope she kind of sticks around a little bit more in the book, or show up somewhere else. But yeah, even though it's in this book, I think that's pretty much about it. So Tony's taking care of one problem, but apparently has landed in a whole host of other problems coming out, as we will likely get going forth in the book.
Right. And it's interesting that he's in the wake of the fall of Krakoa, he came out, richer than rich because of what Emma did. Right? But they still have found a way to bring him to his knees at the beginning of this run. Right? Not, like they didn't take away all his money, but they tried to take his, they tried to do hostile takeover, M&A, merger and acquisition stuff with Stark Industries, or Stark, whatever they're calling it now.
Unlimited.
Stark Unlimited, right? So
yeah. Like I said, it was because I kind of thought it was going to, or maybe it is going to continue. Maybe I'm just thinking like, no, this is just the opening salvo, but this seems like this is it for that part, because this was supposed to be like a Stark Roxxon War arc that they had built this thing as, and I don't know. That part seems like it might be finished, or maybe like that just the beginning of it, because of what a thing that was said at at the end of this. We don't know yet. So to wait till next issue to find that out. If you're watching the video version, you can see the Marvel vs. Capcom Iron Man cover. Also another good cover there. So check that out. And with that, we go to our last book that we have in common, which is Amazing Spider-Man number 64.
Amazing Spider-Man number 64 is written by Justina Ireland, with art by Gleb Melnikov, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters by our favorite lettering python, VC's Joe Caramagna. So I, recently read through, I kind of binge read this whole 8 Deaths of Spider-Man thing because I had fallen a little behind, and it didn't take me long to catch up. What we find in this issue is Peter finding a way to not die as part of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. And he's facing these scions of Sidorak, right? One of which is not Juggernaut
Yet.
Right. And we'll get to see more of this. This issue's kind of a pause in the fighting, as it were, because he's fighting twins. He fights one twin, but there's another twin that he needs to take on, and that's probably going to be in the next issue. But ultimately, though, I'm having some fun reading this because it's Spidey doing magic, and Spidey doing magic is very weird because Spidey's very much like Iron Man and Reed Richards when it comes to dealing with magic. He's a science brain, he's a science nerd, and he doesn't deal with magic very well, but he's dealing with it now. And obviously we're dealing with also Peter Parker problems on the side. He's got his he's got a lady friend that he's trying to kick it to, and it's not going well, and she's learning about the traditional Parker problems. So but otherwise it's an interesting, I noticed that Justina Ireland wrote the last 2 issues of Amazing because she did not write 62. She wrote 63 and 64. So it's interesting that that I believe it's Joe Kelly started this run, but now another writer has picked up in the midst of it.
And from the looks of it, she will be writing the next 4 issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, according from what I'm seeing here. So she,
Interesting.
so this whole 8, I guess, she's doing the majority of the 8. I guess, the majority of the 8 Deaths thing, or I guess this is hers. Yeah, and I guess maybe Joe Casey's going to come back after that or something. I don't know.
Joe Kelly.
Joe Kelly, excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up the Joes.
Yeah, I was about to say that's not the worst guess when you're reaching for a name.
Right. Especially when they both do the same thing.
Exactly.
So therein lies that. But yeah, so what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to, the only thing I think I was going to say that unlike Tony and Steven, I think Peter is probably a little bit more, he doesn't like it, but he's a little bit more accepting of the fact that magic is involved than those other two, because those other two were like starch. That doesn't make any sense.
Right, Tony or Reed, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, granted, if you got the hierarchy of that, Reed is like, hell no. Tony is like, okay, I don't like it, but I know it's a thing. And then then there's Peter who's like, okay, it's magic. So
right.
But still, like everything Agent 70 just said was still the case. But it's also kind of funny that is the case. The 3 bigger brains in the universe are like have their feelings about magic certain way. I see Peter's finally gotten out of the habit of calling his attacks as it were. But I also kind of miss it because it was like, yeah, that's still fun. But it was like, I love they still play with it. So that has been a funny thing. But yeah, I suspect Yeah, well, so I was at the beginning of this, we get a little powwow with Stephen Strange because he's trying to figure out, like Agent 70 said, trying to figure out how to not die, which
Mhm.
has probably been on people's minds because like, yeah, if he's only got limited resources, he only got so many quarters left that he could put in to play. How can he extend that? And he doesn't get the answer he wants, but he does what Peter does. And coming at the end of this, is that going to continue to be the case? I guess we'll find out. Doesn't seem like it, but hey, we shall see. There's a Pokemon reference that I was kind of enjoying, and there's also I was like, all right, I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad it was what it was when it was called. I was like, wait,
That's
I know this.
funny.
Yeah, I was like, I know this is that, and then I'm like, sure enough, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's what it was. Cool.
I'm honestly waiting for like a Harry Potter reference.
Oh, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, honestly. But you're right.
Absolutely. Where he calls out a spell and it's a Harry Potter thing.
Right, like Expelliarmus or some shit like that. Or
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I'm very much surprised that hasn't happened yet. I agree with you on that one. And with that, I believe that is it for the stuff that we have in common.
Yes, those are all my books that we've just covered.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into rapid fire from me.
Alrighty, so this is just for Roddykat. Rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
This is a weird first, honestly, in the history of this program that has happened like this. Or man, probably would have been the second time. Either way, I mean, not counting the last few episodes, by the way. First up for me, Black Canary, Best of the Best, number 2 of 6, written by Tom King, art by Ryan Sook, letters by Dave Stewart, and colors by Dave Stewart, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So, if you don't know about this book, it's a widely publicized fight between Black Canary and Lady Shiva, to the level of Tyson Paul, let's just say, for current context. In a similar vein, in a way, Canary has been given an offer because of something that's going on in her personal life. Well, partially having to do with something in her personal life, in relation to this here fight. But the last couple of issues has been, the fight going on, because we got round 1 last issue, we got round 2 this issue, interspersed with her training with her mom, who, if you know the history of Black Canary, her mom was Black Canary before her, but also, I believe, depending on which history you go with, she was trained by Wildcat, who is not in here, or I guess that might be him actually as a corner man. Regardless, but her mom's kind of taking her through the training, and she seems to be tougher than you would think Wildcat would have been on her in the training leading up to the fight, which is some good stuff which is some amusing stuff to see in this as well. But yeah, like I said, the crux of the book kind of goes between her training and the fight as it goes, and the commentary of the fight from the ringside commentary, who I'm not sure there are probably characters in the universe. I don't think they were made up for this particular, or at least one in particular specifically was not made up for this book, but I think they both are actual DC characters that has some kind of history. But it's kind of amusing, but it's a good book. You should check it out. It's only going to be 6 issues, coincidentally. So is the fight, only 6 issues, so you know how this is going to go. But you may or may not know how the fight is going to go. But I have my suspicions as to how it's going to be, despite some things that were brought up. This issue. Next up, Justice League Unlimited, number 2, and I did have a soundbite for that. I'll put that in post for the show anyway, not for this. Written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters by Ariana Maher. So, as I've said before, and as this has been publicized before, Justice League Unlimited is the book that pretty much everything else is coming out in this whole all in thing that DC is doing. So, like I said, if you don't know, small recap. After the events of Absolute Power, and they're still basically trying to clean up a lot of that. A lot of people either don't have their powers, or they're other people that are not the original owners of the powers have them now. And the Justice League basically said, okay, we're going to do like pretty much what we did in the cartoon and have everybody, all the superpowered people at the Watchtower. They can come and go as they please. We use them as we need to in, in whatever configuration we need to. You have also other folks in the DC universe that normally wouldn't be, under this umbrella working in a capacity one way or other. Like the Question Book is her being the sheriff of the Watchtower. Challenges of the Known is them doing, I still hadn't read that book yet actually, but it's them working with the Justice League at the Watchtower and doing their thing. There's a upcoming book that this particular issue kind of alludes to a little bit, called the Atom Project, which is the atom-based characters, are going to be doing their thing. So yeah, like I said, this Justice League Unlimited book is going to be the book that a lot of stuff comes out. So we see a configuration of the team after last issue get called for a situation that Batman and Blue Beetle was dealing with. And as the main team is out doing their thing, we do see snippets from stuff going on at the Watchtower with a couple of the people that I have just named, or a couple of the groups that I have just named. And like I said, that Challengers of the Known book came out last week, so I don't know if what came up here has anything to do with that, but probably does. As like I said, and then I think the next book, as the book says at the end of this, the Atom Project book is going to be the next one out the pocket. Probably sometime soon. I'm not sure, but yeah, like I said. This being the book that is pretty much driving stories in other books, or at least may allude to other stories in other books, is potentially interesting. Like I said, almost in the vein of the show of the same name. So it's kind of interesting in that moment. And you see some other things coming up in this issue. One of which might also be a thing that's going to lead into one of the characters' books, because I think if I'm not mistaken, Martian Manhunter is getting a book. And the stuff that comes up here is probably going to fall directly into. And there's an Indiana Jones looking character who apparently that shows up in here, who I guess is a main, who's been a character for a while, but more into the occult. But then again, so does Indiana Jones. So there you go, boom. And that is Justice League Unlimited number 2. Like I said, it's an interesting book. You should check it out. You might end up checking it out at some point, because like I said, it's probably going to have something to do with the book if you're a DC head, that you will end up reading. Who knows? Speaking of, next book is Metamorpho the Element Man number 1, written by Al Ewing, art by Steve Lieber, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Ferran Delgado. So this is a kind of a trippy book, actually. I think Metamorpho is a character that is around since the 60s or something. I'm not sure. Someone more versed in the stuff can confirm that or not. But they do use kind of like 60s vibes in the telling of this book. It is Al Ewing, that's why I wanted to check it out. They give Metamorpho a couple of problems to deal with, one of which goes by the name of Mr. 3. I'll leave it to you to guess why he has that name, or they have that name, and why is it that he can deal with Metamorpho the way he does, or tries to deal with Metamorpho in the way he does in this book. So, like I said, I wanted to check this out because it was like, I know of the character, but I don't know too much thing. But also, I just kind of came here for Al Ewing's writing. Honestly, if we're being bugged, because like there's some stuff here that I know of a little bit of, but not a whole lot. Like the name Shade as a group comes out, but there's a new group that apparently is going to be the big bad of this book and a project, and it has to do with Metamorpho and the people around him that he's going to dealing with this. So there is that. But it is fun. It's a fun read regardless. Next up is Jonny Quest, number 5. Written by Joe Casey. Haha. Arts by Sebastian Perez. Colors by Lorenzo Scaramella. And letters by Taylor Esposito. So this is the last part of that whole Jonny Quest in the future situation that has been going on this whole arc. So yes, we with him, the rest of the Quest team, future Jonny Quest, as they go up against hologram Dr. Zen, of course, because you can't have a Jonny Quest thing without Dr. Zen showing up some kind of way. But the two Johnnies, old and, well, quote unquote, I guess current and future, kind of team up as they tend to do and do Jonny Quest things. And while the whole situation gets handled in the most Jonny Quest type fashion, so that you can possibly think of, and leading to the fact that, hey, they got to find a way to get back home. Which, do they? Sure. Which leads to the end of the book, but also comes to find out that this is the end of this adventure, but it seems like they are coming back in March. So I knew this was supposedly an ongoing, and I wasn't sure whether that had changed, or it's one of those situations like either the James Bond books or the Ultraman books, where it's like, well, here's one volume, that's one arc, and then we'll come back with a new number 1 for another adventure. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see in March when the book comes, or when the Quest team comes back. So, and with that, because I couldn't find it ahead of time, next up is Void Rivals number 15. Go. Written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo De Felici, colors by Patricio Depeche, and letters by Russ Wooten. So I'm just going to throw out some names here. Quintessons, Hot Rod, Springer, let me see, Pythona. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Those are names you probably know. They all show up at, Skuxoid. You might know that name from season 3 of Transformers. Who knows? But all of those folks show up in this book one way. A couple of those have been here for a couple of different times. But basically, the main character of this book, Derek, came across Hot Rod last issue, and they had an interesting meeting, and come to find out that, oh wait, you're one of those. So let me meet you. I got somebody over here you may or may not know, and who happens to be Springer. Solila, the other main character of this book, is on a mission to find a certain person that Springer was also trying to find, but she's trying to find them for a slightly different reason, but their histories seem to be blended together. So that's how this book is starting to be kind of important in the whole Energon universe thing, because because the stuff that they're setting up here are basically blending with the the Transformer stuff, and of course, as you heard me say with Pythona, some Cobra La going on here, which will probably bleed back into G.I. Joe at some point. I don't know. But yeah, there's if you know your Transformers history, there is a certain key, but not to Vector Sigma, but to another vector that is brought up here, that may be leading to the thing that a couple of characters are looking at, or who are trying to find. But we'll find out next issue. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. Got two more books. Excuse me, 3 more books. Sorry, folks. Read a lot this week. Been a ride. Next up is Hellhunters number 1 of 5, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Adam Gorham, letters by VC's Travis Landum. So this is taking place in the 1943. We are eventually introduced to a new Ghost Rider from this era, who ends up meeting a version of the Howling Commandos, but we also get the origin of said Ghost Rider in this, as the bad guys were introduced first, but we only got an introduction. We don't know. There's parts about that we don't know the full story on yet. But like I said, with that, like I said, we get introduced to a new Ghost Rider. They who meets the Howling Commandos and goes into this next episode or issue, excuse me, where I think Wolverine's probably going to show up if that in preview. And I have no reason to believe that it won't, because after all, he was around. Next up, Ultimate Black Panther number 11. That was a dumb thing to do. Alrighty. Brian Hill wrote it. Art by Carlos Nieto. Colors by David Curiel. And letters by, color artist David Curiel. Letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So, Shuri goes with a meeting with Moon Knight because of events that happened last issue, or I think that happened last issue. That stuff is a blur, actually, honestly, which leads to a couple of options being put on the table from Khonshu's acolyte, wherein Wakanda and T'Challa is concerned, which ends up having him being goaded into taking option number 2, while Shuri and Okoye try to figure out what's going on with T'Challa from the past few issues, dealing with his injuries and vibranium and what's going on with all that. So the cover of this issue, if you're watching the video version, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what's going on in the story, because that was kind of more so. Well, that's probably something coming up, but we definitely do meet the Sorcerer Supreme of this universe, but that was last issue. So now I'll get to what's going on in the chat in a second, but that's pretty much that. T'Challa basically goes out and to meet the challenge, but then he ends up trying to figure out what's going on in the rest of the world, because Wakanda's kind of out of touch with things, as he finds out a little bit more on. Last book that I have in common. I'm just kidding. Not a common. I got common with myself. Last book that I have is Ultraman X The Avengers number 3 of 4, written by Kyle Hickens and Matt Groom. I believe we brought this up last week. Actually, shout out to my man Von Gloom, who's in the chat, who I'll get to in a second. Get the comments I'll get to in a second. Art by Francisco Mana, color artist Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. So yeah, this thing was still going on. Totally forgot about it because it's been a while since the last issue. The Avengers and the Ultraman team are basically one group now. They made a plan to deal with Galactus, who has come to Earth, to the Ultraman's Earth, to be a problem, but they also had to deal with other kaiju and other situations going on in relation to that as they try to enact their plan, which goes off, but also brings in a wrinkle that sets Galactus off to find a new food source, which is related to, hey, guess what? The Ultraman. So while the Avengers have a temporary victory on Earth, that leads to a problem, a potentially bigger problem, because of what Galactus kind of found out and got into during the course of this issue. And in that, another Ultraman enters the fray, because there's 2 already involved, as well as Jet Jaguar. Wait, is Jet Jaguar? No, it's not Jaguar, it's Jack. Anyway, sorry. But there's another one that comes into play, and that's pretty much all you need to know about that. And like I said, the next issue, it seems like it's going to be the last of this series, of this crossover. There you go. Oh, the only other thing to note is that Tony Stark is not the only one wearing Iron Man Army armor because, of course it's a crossover. So you got to have somebody else on the other side, trying it out for a fit. And we get that here to good effect. And that's cool. And that, folks, gets it for me for my book, Kliqs of the Week.
Kliqs of the Week.
So before we get into that, let me look at Von Gloom says dough again. So funny thing about 8 to 70 does not know that last week Von Gloom came in technically late, but actually right on time because if it wasn't for him, I would not have known that I wasn't being heard last week.
Oh,
and I was already like 15 minutes into the show when he popped in. So I ended up restarting the show so he caught the whole thing.
Listen, there's always a rhyme. There's always some reasoning behind the madness, right?
Pretty much. So now, granted, people on the audio version probably won't catch all that because I edited some of that out, or even the video version because I think I did a little bit of tweaking to that one too. But still, yeah, that was a good thing. But it was a good episode last week. Is future Johnny a junkie with a severe PTSD like he was on Venture Brother? Oh, talking about Jonny Quest. No. But that's an interesting reference. But yeah, no. Let's just say because of whatever events led up to that future that they ended up in, he had a little bit harder life, but he learned some stuff. Put it that way. But it's a good thing to kind of check on and read if you're interested in it. It was a good book. It's a good arc. Far, you definitely check it out. Springer means more records. I know not Age 70. Von Gloom has been beating that drum. I don't know if we're going to see any more of the records or not. Will they find Frank Welker? I mean, if they make an animated version, probably, but he's probably too busy playing Scooby-Doo at this point. The Soldiers of Supreme is back. Yes, that is true. That happened in that Hellhunters book. The Black Panther cover is Dr. Umar's Nightmare. You're so silly. And yes, is Galactus bigger than Ultraman? I think that's just for that cover. Actually, even in the issue, I think they're not like same size, but also Galactus got the hat, so he's gonna got a little advantage over him. They're of similar size, let's put it this way. I think Galactus might have Ultraman just a little bit. So therein lies that. So, but yeah, welcome in Von Gloom as we get into Kliqs of the Week. 8 to 70, do you have yours?
I'm still thinking because I went through all of mine, trying to figure out what my Kliq of the Week was, and I'm still not sure as you're going through the rest of the books that you read. I know you have many more to choose from.
Yeah, but there's a couple of them that are, I guess, pointed. I guess a little bit more. Like I said, I think the one that definitely called out was Iron Man number 3. Mm-hmm. as a definite potential.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like the one thing that bothers me about Iron Man 3 is Tony's look.
Yeah, I know that's been a thing. I know.
I think X-Men number 9 caught my eye just because I read basically this whole Graymalkin story up until now,
right? Basically
in a row to catch up, and so I kind of liked where it ended. So I think I'm going to go with X-Men number 9.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's not a bad one. That's kind of up there for me too, even though I have been reading it week to week. So that's not a bad pick. Not a bad pick at all. I think a couple of other potentials that I had was Black Canary best of the best part 2 of 6 that I've been liking the book. I don't want to say Tom King's books are hit or miss because that's not true at all. It's just that I think there are some that we've just gravitated towards and read mm-hmm. more than the other ones. Like definitely those first two with like Vision and Mr. Miracle, we were definitely on top of.
Yep.
And I know Supergirl is one that people really like. But Justice League number 2 Unlimited, Justice League Unlimited number 2 is also interestingly enough a pick, but it's not like one that's like high up on that list. So, Jonny Quest is also pretty good. But I think I'm going to go with Black Cat. That's not Black Cat. Black Canary, best of the best, number 2 of in fact, I don't think we got a copy of this Blade book. So the Blade book that you're watching on the video version, we haven't gotten a copy of since it came out. Weirdly enough, so we have to look into on that for whatever reason why it's not. Yeah, Black Canary, best of the best, number 2 of 6. That's my click. X-Men number 9 is Agent 70's click, and we're going to get into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as their custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
I recognize that it is a helmet. No one said this, but I just thought about it. It is a helmet. It's not a hat. Whatever. The hat is a helmet. Helmet is a. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Cinematic news, as we do about this time. Max, this is a report, by the way. I just want to stress that. But Max could potentially be losing 4, according to this article, of the best DC animated shows at the end of 2024. Those shows are, in fact, I'm going to take the next one, if you don't mind, Agent 70, because it's
sure
sort of related. But let's see, what are the shows? I believe Teen Titan and Teen Titans Go, yes, because that is related to the next book. I mean, the next article. Green Lantern, the animated series. Static Shock was one that's come up a couple of times. So yeah, I don't know. There might be credence to this report. Also, Teen Titans Go to the movies is slated to leave Max streaming service by January 1st, according to. So again, this is why it's a report, and so take it for what it is. I mean, they also said we were going to lose Boomerang as a channel, and that's still going. But also, I mean, the stuff that we've talked about in the past shows that's leaving Toonami is a thing that's going on. So, and other things on that line. So, yeah, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case. I'm glad I got my copy of Static Shock, the physical version. Doesn't do anything for all other people. All I'm saying, if you can find a physical version of these shows, you might want to do so, or, you know, find a way to record them, maybe possibly archive them for posterity if you have the means to do that, and that is a thing that can happen.
Right. Listen, we've said it before, and it's worth repeating. There is a space, as long as you have space, for physical media.
Indeed.
Right? There's a reason for it. There's a reason to get it, because there's just times you never know. Right?
Absolutely.
Things leave streaming services all the time. You know, we even talked about this when you know, like I ordered my copy of Godzilla -1, and I have it. You know, I opened it. I'm just like, ooh! I just gotta sit down and plop it into a Blu-ray player and just watch it, because you know it's gonna leave Netflix eventually, and who knows where it'll end up next, if at all. If you know whatever streaming service it ends up with, if at all. So it's nice to have a copy of it.
And you have the, if I'm not mistaken, you have the collection version with minus color,
Correct.
which is no longer available for sale.
Yep. There you go.
So, Von Gloom points out in the chat, as he has said a couple of times before previously, Zeslav is a monster. Yes.
Yeah.
But the next story is basically talking. Well, apparently, Tara Strong. If you don't know that name, I don't know where the hell you've been, because she's pretty much she's one of the few that has voice hold childhoods.
Right.
Actually not bad looking either, but that's beside the point. Basically was talking up a potential revival of Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, according to this article, or at the very least says, and I quote, "It would be amazing to grant the most devoted, deserving fans who waited a generation their hashtag season 6. I just think hashtag OG Teen Titans has a story that needs to be told. Who is to say where Teen Titans' original story could go in the future? But there are certainly decades of stories to pull from the comics if the animated show made a comeback. With animated series like Animaniacs and X-Men 97 making a return, the Titans have enough of a fan base that would love to see Robin, Raven, Beast Boy, Cyborg, and Starfire return." And she's not wrong, because people still lose their mind off of Teen Titans Go being a thing. Yes, as Von Gloom points out in the chat, she is the voice of Raven in said series. So again, amongst many other things that she has voiced over the decades. Not Von Gloom. Age of 70. Have you checked out Creature Commandos?
I'm up to date.
Are you? Okay. That I should have asked you to talk about, because I totally didn't. I know when Matt was on the show, he said he was going to check it out, and I think he did, but we hadn't talked to him since.
I'm totally up to date. I can speak to it. I'll just say very quickly that Creature Commandos it's a lot of fun in a James Gunn way.
Okay.
Right? But it's not in a bad way. It's just, it's definitely wacky. It's wacky fun.
Right, like Guardians, Suicide Squad kind of.
Right.
I got you. And I assume you did see the Superman teaser from last week.
I did.
What'd you think? Well, we got you here. I mean, not while we got you here, but you know what I'm saying.
Good boy, woof.
Indeed.
Good boy, woof.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Also, like I said, the whole anime thing, and the whole anime inspiration in the beginning of it. Sure. I'm still not sure if I'm sold on the dude, but
Because we haven't heard him. That's
that too. That too. I'm just talking about his look at this point.
Right.
So, but yeah, like I said, we're gonna. I know. Matt Wang said he's definitely gonna give him a chance and all that, and we will too. But I'm actually debating, because I'll actually go into the theater to see the thing when it comes out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I probably will go. Listen, I went to see the silly Flash movie just because, my buddy Malcolm wanted to go, so we went.
There was a lot going on in that Superman teaser, and I would like to know how much of that is actually going to show up in the movie.
Yeah.
So, Von Gloom says Weasel's origins were sad. I guess that's from Creature Commandos.
Yes, yeah, that's the if I'm not mistaken, the most recent episode.
But there's that. Next up.
Yes, Constantine is finally getting a 4K remaster, and it's coming next year. Warner Brothers Home Entertainment has announced that Keanu Reeves' classic, quote-unquote, 2005 DC movie Constantine is getting a 4K remaster, and it's coming next year. The 4K version of the movie will get a 4K UHD physical release, a limited edition 4K steelbook release, and a digital 4K version of the film on February 18th, which makes the 20th anniversary of the film's theatrical release. The new restoration of Constantine was sourced from the original camera negative, and it was overseen by director Francis Lawrence. Okay.
So I have never seen Constantine, but I know some people who love the ever-loving fuck out of this movie.
I listen, I'm in your camp. I have not watched it myself.
And I probably part of that was because of Keanu, especially young Keanu and whatever. I don't know about, the character in itself, but and I think I've probably only seen like a clip or two of it. So maybe one day, and as far as I know, it's still on Max. Maybe one of these days I'll check it out, or even wait till this happens, even though I don't have a 4K.
Right. Same.
Either way. Von Gloom says Crypto looks a bit puny. Why is Grant Morrison the villain of the Superman movie? It's very meta. Also, Constantine, aka the remix of Prophecy. The remix of Prophecy. Oh, right, the movie Prophecy, which I'm not sure if I remember seeing too much of that either. Ed Berero boards Marvel's Nova series. Actually, this one's one you should probably also have. In works as showrunner. So that Marvel's that Nova series is still a thing, actual. So I guess that bodes well. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Back this up and say that Berero replaces Moon Knight scribe Sabir Pirzada, who was originally tapped as the writer when the project was first put into development 2.5 years ago. We also know that name from Miss Marvel and the Miss Marvel comic books that has recently come out, or more recently come out. At the time, it was unclear whether it would be developed as a feature film or a limited series. Nova has since taken a series direction, according to the article. Apparently, this Ed Berero person is a former Criminal Minds showrunner who is going to be the writer and showrunner of the Nova series. So I guess, are they finally going to do what we would have loved for Thor's to have been, and just be what Thor's actually was, but as an actual series, and be a procedural?
Right.
Who's to say? Time will tell. But yeah, that's the thing. It's still a thing. Apparently, in side note, Olivia Hussey has passed. So, of Romeo and Juliet fame. Rest in peace to her. That's some people's first bout with nakedness. Anyway, in a school setting. Don't ask me how I know this. Why does Ed look like Mark Waid? Is he a variant? I don't remember what Mark Waid looks like, so I don't know. But next up,
a new trailer for Captain America: Brave New World sees Sam Wilson fighting to prevent war. I have not watched it.
Actually, I had not seen this one either. Now that I think about it, I did pick this out because I saw rumors that I saw things was out there, but I did not see this one.
Right. I'm kind of, listen, this will be out on Valentine's Day. I'm going to stay away from any more trailers unless I happen to catch it in the theater for something else.
Right. Yeah. At this point, now I know you've long had that stance. Was like, I only need to see like one, or two, and until the thing actually comes out. So, and I'm kind of with you on that one in this case, particularly. So, and I can't imagine how much. Well, actually, I do remember seeing something out there about you see a little bit more on, I believe, Red Hulk and or the Transformation 2. In this thing, but in some continuously to be some very bad news in pop culture, Jared Leto has been cast as Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. And I've seen some people out there like, why is he being cast in every goddamn thing? And I'm agreeing on that one. Apparently Trapjaw, Triclops, and Goatman are also going to, he's not playing all of those, but those are going to be characters in the movie. So let's see. It was also so Jared Leto, Skeletor. I still don't like his Joker, so I don't. Whatever. Anyway, it was also announced that Sam C. Wilson, not to be confused with Captain America, of House of the Dragon, will play Trapjaw. Kojo Ata is from the Beekeeper, will play Triclops, and Hafthor Bjornsson from Game of Thrones will play Goatman. And if you did not know, all of these are Skeletor's peoples. So
Goatman, okay.
Yeah, that one's a new one on me. So I don't. Maybe it was a later one or maybe that was from a later series. Who even freaking knows? You were not here when this was announced, Agent 70, but Idris Elba is apparently playing Man at Arms.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And Camila Mendez is playing Tila.
Okay. Now I'm gonna have to look up who that is.
That's well, you never watched the show. I was about to say that's Veronica from Riverdale. But yeah, I know
Okay.
she's done some other stuff, and I can't remember if it's anything either one of us would even know at this point. But regardless, that is that. Next up,
I just Googled her. Okay. Alrighty.
no, Von Gloom. They said Goat Man. It was right there in the story. So
Gold Man and Son.
Nice.
I'm kidding.
Nice.
Sony Pictures CEO Tony Vinciquerra talks arms dealer strategy and defends Spider-Man spin-offs. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to look at this article.
Yeah, worth noting. This is talking about that Kraven the Hunter movie that just basically came and went.
Right. This is in the LA Times. And let's see here. It's an interview with questions, like straight up questions. Let's see here. Let's see. What is this arms dealer stuff?
Yeah, I don't know what that part was about.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. Yeah, he does say that they need to rethink the Spider-Man universe strategy. Because Madam Web and Kraven have underperformed. Let's see, where is this arms dealer thing?
Yeah, this is so I guess that is the strategy that the whatever strategy they're going through. That is how they're handling movies nowadays in a way which it doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, I don't know where that comes in.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for this in the article.
Oh, apparently on January 2nd, he will step down from his role and hand control to current Sony Pictures Chief Operating Officer Ravi Ahuja in a planned succession that was signaled for months. So, yes, he was basically saying this on his way out.
Gotcha. Oh, I see. So the arms dealer thing is they would just be the ones supplying the weapons to the streaming services to fight each other and improve their own business as opposed to operating their own streaming service.
Right. That's still a weird analogy for that, but
yeah.
Going back to Iron Man, that somehow still fits.
Pretty much.
So yeah, next up. Von Gloom says Jared Leto, please retire from acting and stick to music. Maybe he doesn't need to stick to that either. But I haven't listened to any of his music, so I don't care. Sonic the Hedgehog #4 is in works. We saw as soon as 3 came out, this came out. So
they've made 3 of these already.
And
damn,
people like our own PC_Dirt enjoyed that movie. Well, at least I think he said he did. Yeah. And other people that I know apparently love that movie. I've only seen the first one. That was a decent movie, but I haven't watched 2 or Knuckles. So yeah, that Hedgehog continues to keep running. Apparently, boom. Oh yeah, and it's apparently 2027 is the potential release date for that said next. Does it say about who's probably in it? Probably everybody who's in these last 3, and who's next? Who's gonna be Rouge? Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of it. Whatever. Anyway, Big the Cat. There we go. That's another character. Anywho's next up.
James Bond, the movie franchise, may be in deep jeopardy. So the short of it is the Broccoli family. That's not a typo, folks. The Broccoli family, which owned the franchise and the copyright, is not happy that Amazon bought the Super Spy when it took over MGM in 2022. And the Wall Street Journal reports that Amazon and Barbara Broccoli, the producer who inherited the franchise from her father and film producer Albert Cubby Broccoli when he died in 1996, are in the middle of an ugly fight that's halted production on the next Bond film. Apparently, Barbara does not trust Amazon with her family's famous film franchise. She basically said these people are effing idiots.
I mean, is she wrong? Also, from what I understand, Barbara Broccoli is very vocal, so it's kind of funny. Or has been vocal for quite some time with so I know, and obviously, a license that is near to her and her family because of the history. So I guess I can understand that the whole "these people are fucking idiots" thing. It was kind of a funny take. I mean, it could be some truth to it, but also at the same time, it is big conglomerate Amazon. So there's some truth probably in it, not in the way that she might have meant.
Right.
That being said, hey folks, if you want to watch a whole bunch of James Bond on Pluto TV, there's a James Bond channel, and all of the movies are there up until the last. Well, yeah, all of them are there basically. Sitting watching George Lazenby last night. Also, a couple of Avengers show up in those books, and not the Avengers from Marvel. Anyway, we're going to transition over to the anime section.
All righty. Let me pick out something good to play. And let me see if this is... yeah, this will play.
That is quite appropriate for what's coming up.
Yep.
Kaiju number 8, season 2 anime reveals July 2025 release, and there's a teaser visual from it, and also a new trailer for the compilation movie Hoshina's Day Off, which I think we talked about in the last couple of weeks. So there's the key visual right there if you're watching the video version, and links to the trailers for said projects. And there you go. I still have not watched this.
I was about to say, you just answered the question on the tip of my tongue, which is, have you watched this yet? You should. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, Von Gloom also has been saying that same thing, and yeah, one of these days I'm gonna try it. So it's just a matter of me getting around to it when something we're going to talk about in a couple of articles I still hadn't finished watching yet. So yeah, I got to get there.
I was about to say, have you binged anything recently?
What if
or finished anything?
Close. No, not really. Anime wise, no.
I just binged Dan.
Oh, so we were talking about that last week, actually.
I just binged it.
What do you think?
So I need to, and I think there's a new. I need to get back into Ranma 1/2. Speaking of, in the next story, Ranma 1/2 anime announces season 2. Good news. The latest anime adaptation has confirmed via its official social media feed that a second season is in the works. So I'm like 4 episodes in, and I had to stop watching it. I don't remember why I stopped watching it. I just have to circle back to it.
Gotcha. You did not watch the original, right?
Did not.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you wouldn't be up in arms about, well, not about. And it might not be as strong enough. I don't know. I know there were people that had issues with some of the changes they made with this new one or something.
Right. But I understand that there's some alterations, because I recognize that some things are not the way I recognize them, at least from the like some bits of the manga I had read and some bits that I had known from previous, from friends who had watched it, way back when.
Right. Von Gloom says July, talking about Kaiju number 8. Is that too long to wait for you, sir? And also Ranma 1/2 is weird with the edits, which is like I said, another thing that people have been saying recently. Next
with
up,
with the edits, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Daima announces a surprise hiatus. So according to this article, every Friday has been unofficially become Dragon Ball Daima. I still have not watched any. I feel bad about that for my own damn self. Whereas, which is actually kind of funny, because I'm going to imagine Agent 70 probably has watched everything up to date.
Pretty much.
Mind you, this is a person who come to Dragon Ball way late.
But I binged everything except for
And-
GT.
Right. So this is funny. But anyway, to me, because yeah, whatever. But hey, it's been a time later, so I have no excuse. No excuse. Let's see. Anime fans gathering to see what lies in wait for Goku and Z Fighters and Z Demon Realm. Preparing to release its 12th episode, which is already out this week, I think. Wait, is it out this week? Is it out yet? Because I'm not sure when those episodes when they drop. I assume
I always end up catching it once the weekend hits, so I have not watched this week's yet.
So I assume if it's not tonight as we're recording it on a Friday, or it's probably either tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure. Von Gloom, if you know, you let me know. But regardless, so the last episode is basically for the season is this week. And I figured, actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to take this next one because it is related. So
Sure.
According to Fuji TV, the company that helps air Dragon Ball Daima week after week, the anime will be taking next week off thanks to ringing in the new year. Okay. Seemingly, this hiatus will be a short one as the shonen series will return the following week to continue its wild run. As mentioned previously, fingers crossed that the current fights between Vegeta and the Tamagami, I almost called it a Tamagotchi, will end in episode 12. It's Dragon Ball. That never end that quick. But not that I know. So they're in that. And next up, speaking of episode 12, Dragon Ball finally makes Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta canon. This is spoiling things for me that I'm sure I didn't, I'll be fine with. I'm not about it. I'm not worried about it at all. I'm surprised I'm not surprised it took them this long to give Vegeta Super Saiyan 3. So, but although the preview for episode 12, according to this article, suggested that Mini Goku would be forced to step in for Vegeta, the young Saiyan prince managed to pull himself together before the sea monster took him to his watery grave. What's more impressive is that the situation might have pushed Vegeta's skill to the next level. So, for the first time in Dragon Ball history, Vegeta becomes Super Saiyan 3. Looks like it has been confirmed through some Japanese site. And I know they've been trying to do things with Super Saiyan 3 Goku. They're trying to they brought that back out and thing. So Von Gloom says, yeah, that's my fault. Also, but don't worry about it. Let's see. Daima has something else. Oh wait, back up for a second. Von Gloom says they watched the original and watched the first episode of the remake, talking about Ramen 1/2. Daima has something else. Also why the prince needed that glow up when he attained Super Saiyan God. But this is one, they're kids though.
Mm-hmm.
So this is but this is before that, isn't it? Because doesn't this take place like at the end of Z? Right?
This takes
the
place. Yeah, exactly. Like right at the beginning of Super, I think. Like end of Z, beginning of Super.
Right. So that's why so Super Saiyan God hasn't been a thing yet. That's why. I guess he could say, "Look, Kakarot, I've attained Redacted 2," which and I just said it, Super Saiyan 3. It is what it is. Daima added so much lore to Dragon Ball. I redacted it for a reason. Then Super CBR spoils it. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time or the last time CBR spoils something before or at the same day a thing comes out. So,
right.
But also, I put it in here, so you could say that same thing about me. But yeah, that is that from Dragon Ball. I'm gonna check it out because if anything, I'm gonna check out. It's going to be, yeah. It's at the end. Is near the end of Z, as I've come to find out from Agent 70 and others. So it's like right before the end of Z. So it's definitely before Super.
Right.
So that is why Super Saiyan God is not a thing. But yeah, there is that. Next up, though. Oh, actually, before we go into next up, because we're going to go to the manga corner. I put this in. I took this out of the news and put this in the clickbait section, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway. There's an honest trailer for the Rankin Bass Hobbit animated film. So if you are a fan of honest trailers, I know some of you out there, some of us are as well. They went back to do a classic. Or a classic to some of us of a certain vintage, I should say. So if you want to check that out, you check that out. There we go. Now then we get into the manga corner.
Alrighty. Well, actually, I could have stuck with some Dragon Ball here. Speaking of Dragon Ball Super announces a return date. So while Dragon Ball Super's anime adaptation has yet to confirm when it will return to the airwaves, fans won't be waiting long for the manga to release a new chapter. As announced at Jump Festa, Dragon Ball Super's manga will return with a brand new manga chapter that will once again focus on Goten and Trunks. Okay, let's see here. Is there a date? Let's see. Date. So it will return on February 20th of 2025.
This is yes. I know. I'm about to ask a question because I put the damn thing in here. So yes, so the manga, not the anime. Just
correct.
Clarify that for some other time. So yeah, there is that. And now we're going to get into some comic book news.
Alrighty. Here we go. Transitioning over to comic book news.
Punisher writer and artist reteam for indie revenge comic We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. So this is from, oh wow, this is a name I hadn't heard in a minute. Matthew Rosenberg. And artist Stefano Landini. So let's see. In a comic run that was published in the mid to late 2010s, the aforementioned creative team took the character of Crank Castle, aka the Punisher, away from his crime roots and put him deep into the Marvel Universe on a mission of revenge. Revenge is still on the Rosenberg-Landini's mind, but in a very non-Marvel way, as the duo reunite for a creator-owned comic titled aforementioned We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. The all-new 6-issue miniseries will kick off in March 2025 from Image Comics with an extra-length first issue. You can see that there's a page from the letter, or a preview page from the book, or a couple of preview pages if you want to check that out for yourself. I was trying to look and see exactly what it was. Here we go. The story follows a 13-year-old girl named Annalise who's left all alone in the world after her mad scientist father is killed by the world's greatest spy. Now, alongside her dead dad's robot bodyguard, Annalise has a choice: try to lead a normal life for the first time ever, or seek revenge and maybe overthrow the world order in the process. So if that sounds interesting to you, that'll be out in March. Next up,
Jonathan Hickman's Imperial is coming from Marvel Comics in the summer of 2025. So, we talked about this. We've seen teasers about it. And this is launching in summer 2025 amid rumors of galactic leader assassinations that came out of Timeslide. Hickman, we all know him. He's infamous for his mumbo jumbo around these parts. And I'm looking forward to this Imperial. It definitely implies that we're going to see some Shi'ar stuff, Imperial Guard stuff, some, kind of like we're going back to the space side of the Marvel Universe, because, we've talked about this even before my hiatus, that there is not much in terms of Marvel space. Right now, it's just that Phoenix book, because we've had Nova guest star in that, and we don't have a Guardians book any longer. So, it makes sense that Phoenix book might be the lead into Imperial.
Von Gloom asks, what vacuum?
Someone's gonna die. There's gonna be a power vacuum.
The Kree Skrull Empire and the Shi'ar Empire are still intact. True, but there are other empires out there, as we have seen, so it's not just them.
Right.
Oh, he's also talking about, so watching the video version, you can see the poster for the poster for this thing, and it does say nature abhors a vacuum.
Right.
On it. So that was probably the other thing we were talking about. So yeah, and this article also was like, well, maybe Timeslide will give more insight into it. It did not.
Right. It just teased more. That's it.
Right. I think the Badoon is still stable. Or is the Badoon stable? I don't know. Also, it's worth noting, I don't know if you Agent 70 have caught up or have been reading Spectacular Spider-Man.
I should be caught up.
Okay. Speaking of Hickman, somebody from Gods showed up in that book, which, as I said last week, is probably the only character from Gods that I actually remember, halfway remember what's in him. So there is that. They already tried and succeeded in killing Xavier. Wait, did they succeed in that? Because I could have sworn she was still around. There was that whole thing with her and, or maybe this was after that, her and Rogue and Gambit when they were out there. Well, I don't know. This is a whole lot.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know they actually ended up killing. Oh wait, here we go. So Brian Van Gloom says Brand had assassinated a Badoon leader to install one who would be favorable to. Okay, I don't know. There's some stuff happened. I don't remember. We read a whole lot of stuff.
Yes.
Here we go in the news that I alluded to earlier. Marvel teases Iron Fist return from the dead with a new name, and we also got a little bit of this piece of this from Timeslide, by the by. So the living weapon will live again. That goes into Danny Rand's history. Talks about that 50th anniversary special that I don't think I still read. Yep, Rand became just the second Iron Fist to live past their 33rd birthday. 1 year ago, a mystical creature called so this is going back to that thing. Tried to feed on the life force of the mystical dragon Shao. I'm gonna butcher that. My apologies. It's late. Anyway, the source of the Iron Fist power, and this is they're going back to immortal Iron Fists. Let's see, a little bit of history, more history stuff, and we get into this week's Timeslide, which reveals the fact that oh, I do remember this. I think I did read that Iron Fist thing. I just don't remember. But regardless, let's see. The timeless show Luke Cage as the Iron Fisted Century from the Future and Power Man Timeless. Okay, that was from a while. No, that was from a while ago, I think, at this point. Let's see. Bronze. We talked about that. They show the list that we showed earlier. And there we go. So relevant to the story is the Ghost Fist walks, which hints Rand will return from the grave as the Ghost Fist Killer. I'm just kidding, not the killer part. As Ghost Fist in 2025. Meanwhile, Rand's protege is the young Pei of Kunlun and the Chinese warrior Lin Lai or Lin Li. I still don't think we've come down on the pronunciation of that one properly. Are the new Iron Fists. I do remember when they teamed up together. I must have read that or something. Yes, because it was Shocker. You remember all of that. So apparently, Danny Rand is due to come back, and he's gonna have a new name. All that said,
Okay.
and actually, yes, I do remember this because this was the page that is showing up on the video version is a page from that Iron Fist 50th. I do remember you mentioning that night. And they also mentioned when Marvel was doing those bonus pages unlocks. I don't know if they kept doing it or not. Regardless, next up.
All right. So, in the wake of absolute power, Amanda Waller was, imprisoned, but she's now escaped, and now that is going to trigger a new Secret Six series from DC, written by Nicole Maines and with art by Steven Segovia. It's going to debut March 5th, 2025, and this new Secret Six is out to catch Amanda Waller.
Yeah, apparently not written by Gail Simone, who I believe has to do with Secret Six. Is why I mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know too much about this group, and I still hadn't really read enough of Absolute Power outside of the stuff that's been showing up in DC books that I have been reading.
All right.
Therein lies that. Von Gloom says would be cool to see the intergalactic Wakanda. They have shown up recently in a couple of different spaces, so they're definitely still kicking around. Xavier resurrected his daughter, and the aliens found out about mutant resurrections at that point, and Storm had to tell them all to relax. That's from what Von Gloom says. All right. DC. Oh, Von Gloom, I am glad you're here for this. So Age of 7, we've been having a running thing about crossovers in the last few weeks because there's been a few of them announced. In this case, DC reveals the first look at Sonic the Hedgehog and the Justice League are crossing over.
Wait, here we go.
Yeah, and that is the prevailing thought that we've had for about a lot of people. I can't remember what was the other one that we were talking about. It was Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls are getting a crossover.
Wait, what?
Yes, because they are both Dynamite licenses.
Oh my god.
Yes, that is a thing. So this talks about Sonic the Hedgehog being in the theaters at this point. Let's see. There's a cover for the DCX Sonic the Hedgehog #1 that is in this article. Weirdly enough, according to this article, let's see. The cover has Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles, and Amy Rose. Let's see. And behind them are the Flash, Superman, and Wonder Woman, with Batman, Cyborg, and Tails rounding out the group. Pablo M. Kohler did the cover, of which you can see if you're watching the video version. And it turns out that Darkseid is the main villain of the series as he launches an invasion of Sonic's world in search for ultimate power, which I guess means the Chaos Emeralds at this point. Because yes. Because why? What else? But while Sonic and his allies have faced daunting challenges before, they're going to need reinforcements to take down Darkseid's army, and they get that in the form of the Justice League. And you can find the official description below this cover that I am. Also, they didn't mention Green Lantern, who is also in the. Or shame of them for not mentioning. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Darkseid is dead in the DC universe, or incapacitated, or not around, basically. But apparently, Parademons are still around. I forgot to mention that in talking about Justice League Unlimited #2, by the by. So clearly, this is probably an Elseworlds thing, because. What else is this? Clearly is not going to be Sonic, even with that whole all-in situation that TC's doing. Although, how crazy would that be if it was? And as Von Gloom says, once again, in talking about these crossovers, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Next up,
the new Transformers toy line is only just being formally announced. But hype and promotion for the upcoming Transformers Age of the Primes series is already in full swing. This includes several behind-the-scenes looks, courtesy of a Hasbro toy designer, with one of these spotlights showcasing the first of the Primes. And apparently one of the most anticipated toys from this line is Prima Prime, the progenitor of all other primes, including future Autobot leader Optimus Prime himself. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. digging the poses, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're watching the video version, you can see me flipping through the image gallery. A sword that looks almost like Iron Man's sword, but with the Matrix of Leadership attached.
Right.
Just saying. So, yeah, there you go, folks. That's a potential thing that we're going to, or that folks are going to be getting. Yeah. Next up, though. Oh, pardon me. Sorry. Studio Series 86 Commander Longhaul and Hook revealed. These are from the Constructicons. If you did not know, along with more looks at Scrapper and Bone Crusher and Devastator himself. So yeah, they're hauling that back out. No pun intended, or maybe there was. I don't know. So, and I think this is probably from this is from the Transformers Instagram account, I guess, that had these blurry pictures, or some account that had these blurry pictures. That's the case. Von Gloom says, I heard of the 13 Primes getting their action figures. Yeah, I think we talked about that previously. Prime is a very creative name. Stan Lee must have named him. Stop. Next up, though.
G.I. Joe Classified Frag Viper and Legacy Firefighter prototype images have leaked online. And these images show they're probably coming from the factory or something, and there's a classified Frag Viper and Legacy Firefighter. The Legacy Firefighter looks fairly realistic, and the Frag Viper looks anything but.
Yeah, I was about to say, was it what was the name of the firefighter dude? He had the
Barbecue.
Thank you. Yeah, I was about to say he had the
the accent.
Yes, I was trying to
getting the windows wiped and all that stuff.
Oh no, not the Viper. The Viper is coming. I think it was supposed to be New Englander, or he was kind of talked like this a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah, I want to say he probably was from Boston or from New Hampshire or something. Yeah, he definitely had a New England accent.
Yeah. So yeah, why does it look like Freddy Krueger from the back? Not Freddy Krueger. Jason from the back.
Yeah.
But these are probably not, obviously. These are like prototypes or
right.
versions of these figures. There is that. And folks, that is that for the news. Guess what? We're done.
Yeah. I was going to say, I do have a little bit of Toy Corner.
Yes, I was about to mention that. So I'm spotlight right there. Take it away.
All right. So I ordered some of these figures. They were not easy to get over Amazon. That is my preferred, they are a sponsor, of course, but that is my preferred way of getting these figures because I hate hunting for stupid toys now. But I did get 3 of these. There's a 4th one coming, but I got 3 out of the 4 that I ordered. And I'm referring to the Marvel Legends Secret Wars line, right? These are the Secret Wars based figures. So the looks of these figures, at least the ones that are kind of repeats of what we've gotten before, are based on their looks from that Kenner original Kenner action figure line, and some of the looks of these figures from that era. So first up is one of the figures that is brand new to this wave and brand new to Marvel Legends, and that is Titania.
Nice.
No, I'm going to drop my virtual.
No, I can't. Yeah, I can't do that on that, but I'm going to drop me from the pictures.
Right. Here's Titania. Look at that. That's actually a really good rendition of Titania.
Pretty good. Yeah. And
right?
The old box art and the shield and everything. Yeah.
Yep. The hologram shield. You see, if you tilt it, you get with a mask and without a mask. Mm-hmm. And the figure comes with a stand. You could see that there's a Secret Wars base that I guess is part of what goes in the shield. So it's not a stand, but it goes into the shield. And it's the 40th anniversary of Secret Wars. But listen, I got this figure because I never thought I would ever get another shot at getting a Titania figure. Right? Never thought I'd get it. Right? Speaking of another figure that I don't think I'm ever going to get another shot at, is the Beyonder. But if you think about it, from the original Secret Wars, this version of the Beyonder never appears.
Correct.
This version of the Beyonder appears in Secret Wars 2, a follow-up miniseries, right? But we do have a depiction here of the Beyonder in Marvel Legends form, and it's interesting to see what he looks like when the decoder shield or the hologram shield is tilted, right? Right, he looks like whatchamacallit, like a cosmic being, right? With no with no features. You see that? It's very interesting.
Nice.
All right. So I'm glad to get the Beyonder. And last, I ordered in terms of the redos of the hero figures, I did not order the Spidey, right? Because I've gotten multiple black costume Spideys. It would have been nice to get a pegless Spidey. That's what that's what would draw most people to this Spidey. But it's okay that I don't have a pegless black costume Spidey.
So
but what I did get,
okay,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I did get, and what was unique to this set, right? There is a version of Captain America in this. I did get the Wolverine, right? But it hasn't come in yet. I did get the Captain America with the shattered shield, right? From issue number 11 and 12, right? Of the original Secret Wars. And that's why I got this figure. I needed to get, of all the figures that I needed to get, the two I just showed you, the Beyonder and Titania, which were the brand new figures for this wave, were a must. And this was the other must, which is the Cap with the shattered shield, right? The Wolverine, I got just because I figured I'd get it because it has like a quirky paint scheme, right? And that's why I did not get the Iron Man and I did not get the Spider-Man, but I definitely got the Cap, and I'm waiting on the Wolverine. So that's Toy Corner for me.
That is Rhodey, right? They didn't just opt to go with Tony.
It's Tony.
Oh, is it?
It's Tony. It's Tony in the Shield picture.
But
yeah, but we all know it's Rhodey. That's the thing. If you watched, listen, if you read the original Secret Wars, it's Tony. It's even it's Rhodey in the armor, and I think I want to say it's. I don't. You know what? In Secret Wars 2, I don't know if it's Rhodey anymore.
I don't think so. I think it is Tony then.
Right. Right. So it's weird that they would be playing with who's in the armor at this point.
Anyway,
I know. I know.
So okay, so bringing that up, and I'll get to the comments in a second. So when I was one of the weeks Matt was on, and we were talking about, I brought up the Evergreen episode that we did, and I told him that you had mentioned that we might at some point bring that back every now and then. So he has a standing date to be on a couple of, and he even suggested a couple of them that I put in the list.
Nice.
That he suggested, and I just looked at the list to make sure that we didn't already do Secret Wars, which we did not.
Nice.
Which I'm surprised we didn't, actually. I feel like that would have been one of the ones we would have gotten into. But then again, as time went by and books started coming back, that's why we ended up not getting to the stuff that we...
Exactly.
But I feel like for whatever reason we didn't get to that one, that might have been probably the next one we were going to do up until when stuff started turning again.
Coming back, right?
Mm-hmm. So, but we also, if I'm not mistaken, no, I'm looking at this. I mean, not surprising. Secret Wars 2, not on here. Not on here at all.
I honestly don't even know if I finished reading Secret Wars 2.
I did. I didn't, and it was also running to some, because I think I read a lot of it in trade.
Hmm.
at the time. 'Cause I feel like I read the main book, and it was obviously because it was crossing over with books I was reading. That so that was the case. But yeah, I didn't care for that one, which not too many people did, so not surprising. But regardless, not surprising it's not on our list. And Marvel Superhero Secret Wars is, and I wish we kind of had a chance to get back to that, especially since it is the 40th anniversary. Or that doesn't make me fucking old. But that being said, folks, Von Gloom says G.I. Joe definitely loved their accents. We're talking going back to that whole barbecue situation. She also says barbecue definitely parked the car over Cobra, which is wicked awesome.
Oh no.
I don't know if I did the accent all that much justice, but you know, hey. The firefighter had the Zoolander duck face. That's funny. But yeah, folks, that's brings us to a close of this here show. And the fact, the last one of this here 2024.
Holy cow, you're right.
Yep, because our next show will be after the new year. So you know what, we could do the whole, hey, what our resolutions does, because I need time to think about it this late. But I'm going to say, hopefully everyone had, before we do the outro stuff, hopefully everyone had a great Christmas, and hopefully we'll have a very
Merry New Year!
Merry
New Year!
Exactly.
That's right.
There it is. And you know, make sure you time up, you know, sync up Trading Places and watch that as the ball drop. Or yeah, you know, I was about to say something dirty. I'm not a family show. You know, all that good jazz. Let's have a good New Year's and all that kind of good jazz. And hopefully we will see you guys on the other side. But until then, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can also find me at Roddykat on Blue Sky. Blue Sky. You can also find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that will help people find our show.
Indeed, and you can find us every Thursday night, mostly every Thursday night, even though we're on a Friday night. Hey, sometimes doesn't happen. Don't worry about it. Thursday nights, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube.com/TheKliqNation and Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Yeah, make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so that you will know when we are on live. And I heard this today when it comes to like video podcasts, as it were. Sometimes it does help to watch and associate voices with faces. So make sure to tune in to the video feed of the Comic Book Chronicles.
I feel like there's a story behind that somewhere that I'm going to ask you about after the show.
Right.
Von Gloom says in the chat, more episodes, more toys, more reviews, more gaming on Twitch. Yes, yes, and on that, yes, there will be more gaming on Twitch. We're gonna get back to Power Rangers. I'm definitely gonna fire up Marvel Spider-Man for something I've been itching to do for like 2 years past. Might go back to that G.I. Joe. I know Von Gloom's been wanting me to head back to that G.I. Joe beat 'em up game. So yeah, all of that and some other stuff we can definitely find. We definitely have a list of that stuff. But also more gaming on Twitch and the meaning of geekiness. Yeah, that's all. Also for like, hey, Von Gloom's talking about himself. Because a lot of that stuff he's been doing, with the exception of probably gaming on Twitch, which I don't know if he's doing that yet, but you know, so. But for the last time for this here 2024, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One. And for the first time in a long time, I can say this.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.